Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 17th meeting of Walpole Select Board. It's now 7 o'clock, or a little after. I call the meeting to order. Let's stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first order of business this evening is a public hearing regarding DeBevino Winery. So could I have a motion to open a public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. You
Second.
want to give me the motions?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there you go. That's okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. 3-0. We're now in a public hearing. So we've got Al DiNapoli here representing DeBevino. So Al, just step us through what the ask is.
Good evening.
to see you.
Nice to see you all. Jim, I'm sorry I forgot to dress like a Christmas tree tonight. But I do have my Christmas tree tie on. So, and taking a little nod to that. Nice seeing you all. Nice to be here. We have an application for a change of manager of record. Dominic Arpino had been the manager of record. We're changing that to John Bevilacqua. John has always been a member, is up there. Actually lives closer than all of us. He's in Foxborough. He's there every day, so just makes sense for him to be the manager of record. Also, Dom is stepping out as a member of the LLC, so we have a change in the owners and operators, and so we have those two applications before you.
Great. Well, thank you for being here tonight, Al. And you guys are doing a great
pleasure.
job up at the winery. It's a nice feature in town here. We really appreciate everything you're doing there. Anybody have any questions for Al? We are in a public hearing. Is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak? Being none, could I have a motion to close
I'll make
the
a motion
public
to
hearing?
close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
3-0.
I'll make a motion to approve the request of DeBevino Winery LLC for change of ownership interest.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
3-0. Al, you are all. Oh,
Let
I'm
me
sorry,
make
go
one
ahead.
more. Hey, I'll make a motion to approve the request for change of manager to John C. Bevilacqua and change of officers.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
3-0. Al, thank you very much for being here and for, again, everything you guys are doing at the winery. And our apologies for not inviting you to the 350th.
That's
So-
okay. Just to remind Mr. Johnson, too, that someday, well, no, that's okay. It's always great to be here. You guys and everyone is working so hard for the town. It's just a pleasure to have a business here and to ride around. And though I don't live in town any longer, our heart and our kids who grew up here and went to school here just feel Walpole's their home. And when they ride through, and they're just so very proud of everything that's been done in town over the years. So keep up the great work, and happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all.
Same to you, Al.
Take
Thanks
care.
for being here.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you.
Al.
Take care. Okay, our next order of business is a request from RK Pizza. Well, I think we have Ryan Kim here, who is the owner. Ryan, if you'd come up to the mic. Good evening.
Good
and
evening.
welcome.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Good, good. If you could just spend a couple of minutes talking about the request, and then we'll do it.
Yes. So my wife and I were trying to take over a pizzeria called the Rico's on the main street, and I'm here to just request permission.
And so we have an application for a new common vittler's license, and I understand all the documentation is in and we're ready to go.
Correct.
Any questions from the board? Thank you for what you're doing. We love the fact that you're keeping Rico's going and that you're bringing the business into town. It's really, really good.
Thank you.
So-
Thank you very much.
I'll make a motion to approve the request of RK Pizza Inc. for a common vitulous license to operate at 1351 Main Street.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
3-0. Thanks, you're all set. Good luck. Okay. Next up, we have Pat DeShane, who is our Community Economic Development Director, to come and talk to us about a couple of zoning articles that we have coming up for the spring town meeting. So, hi, Patrick.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, so the zoning articles that we've been working on is part of a process of reviewing and recodification and rewriting of the zoning bylaws. As the select board knows, a steering committee was appointed, I believe in August. And they've been working diligently. We're meeting probably about once a month. The process is extensive. It's something that getting into it right now. It's often kind of enjoyable, but also it's a lot to review and go over. Town council is our legal consultant for this, and she Carolyn Murphy is her name, and she's been working with us. Provide the audit, a zoning diagnostic report, which is kind of an outline of where the changes need to occur. So the steering committee that has been working on this has met with town council and has agreed that kind of the process that we're going to go forward with is bringing zoning articles forward in more or less phases. Rather than one article that's 200 pages that I'm sure everyone would love to review, this is going to be more kind of scaled out and just clarity articles, as well as like time-sensitive articles, are what I'm going to be talking about today. And later on down the process, we're going to kind of take a few sections at a time, such as the table of use, and eventually it will be a completed project. But the group that's working on it is trying to take the same approach with each section and have it be consistent, and it'll get there for sure. So what we're proposing for the spring is, in a sense, 7 articles, but it's really it's 7 sections depending how we break it up. 4 of which involve amendments to article sections 1 through 4, and then section 7. To explain it as easily as possible, those ones are really based upon clarity, bringing in conformance with state law. The language of those articles some of it was a little outdated, so we're trying to make it more readable and approachable from a more modern perspective. And so nothing from that in terms of true substance. It's really about improving the clarity for 2024 and beyond. And those are section 7 is odd because it's separate from those. That's our sign bylaw. By and large, town council didn't have many issues with that. So some of the changes there are really minor, just kind of a few points to clean up that were brought up. The 2 time-sensitive articles, though, deal with our floodplain bylaw, which is section 11. This is something that is coming about because DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation, through FEMA is producing the new firm in FIS flood, and so what comes along with that is a requirement to update towns' floodplain bylaws. So the language that's being proposed is really coming from a model bylaw that DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation, has proposed. So all that language is really driven something that's kind of out of our control. It's something that's being required along with the new maps. Nothing in it is overly controversial, but I would think most of it is just to kind of explain where it's coming from. It's not so much my language or the board's or the committee's language. It's really language that's being required by DCR. And then the other one, which this board is familiar with, is the ADU bylaw. And then that's the question: why is the ADU bylaw up again? So last fall, at the fall town meeting, ADU bylaw was amended. Around that same time, Governor Healy introduced the Affordable Homes Act. Literally, probably within the same couple weeks. It was October of 2023. When you introduced an act, it goes through the process of review within the state legislature, and it was signed into action, so it was finalized on August 6th of this year. So from that time, there's certain changes that were proposed in the act which relate to the state's zoning laws. And primarily is including ADUs as a protected use. So what that essentially means is ADU, accessory dwelling units throughout the state, are to be allowed by right. We've already done that process of creating allowance by right within residential zoning districts, which complies with the law. However, with the inclusion to the state's protected uses, there's certain other provisions that now need to be accounted for within our zoning bylaw so that we are in compliance with the new language within the state zoning law. So in terms of the allowance by right, that doesn't really change, but there are provisions that now need to be amended to comply with the new law. And the law itself, even though it was signed, so the Affordable Homes Act was passed on August 6th, the changes to the state zoning law don't come into effect until February 2nd. So we want to be able to get in a position where we can get ahead of that and make sure that there's no, we're compliant with the state law as early as possible. I'm happy to take any questions on that and what those changes are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A couple thoughts from me. First of all, thank you and the steering group that we put together for all the good work that you guys have been doing.
Just want to acknowledge Ed Forsberg is here from the group, and Jim Crawley is also on that committee.
And really appreciate you guys being here tonight for this discussion, but also the great work that you're doing to get these things, updated. A lot of it is administrative cleanup, reorganization, so there's for clarity and conciseness and all that. And so I like the way you've got the first block broken out. It seems relatively uncontroversial. With respect to the floodplain, that also falls to me into the realm of, we've just got to update it to stay current with the state and the floodplain regulations and maps and all that. The ADU, the one thing that I want to make sure that people are really understanding is the town passed the ADU law, this is bylaw amendment, in October of 2023, correct?
Yep.
And as you point out, the state then ran a legislative process that culminated in new language some 6-7 months later, if I understand the timeline properly.
Yeah, so the act was finalized and signed into effect on August 6th of this year.
Some of the questions that I've heard asked about this is, why do we have to now come back around and update the language that we really just passed, over a little over a year ago? And the reason is because the state changed after we changed. We need to be compliant with the state law. What we don't want to have happen is have our zoning bylaw become just completely obviated and not adopt the language at the state level, because that creates other complexity. So it's important for us to do this. There's going to be a little bit of a gap, as I understand it, from the law, when the law goes into effect, I think in February, and the spring annual town meeting where we'll vote this. And so there will be that disconnect for some 2 or 3 months, and then we'll get that cleaned up. But I think it's important that people understand why we're now updating what we just brought into the zoning bylaws a little over a year ago. So that'll be important to keep reminding people. But I appreciate the being here tonight, giving us this update. I assume you're going to be conducting, as we get closer to town meeting, forums to discuss this and present in front of perhaps the planning board and others.
Yep, no, I mean, obviously, for any zoning article, we would have to go through the public hearing process with the planning board. We do have 2 members from the planning board on the steering committee, and I know they've been providing updates to the planning board. If there's a process where I can also attend a planning board meeting, I know they've been discussing that with the board to try to facilitate that. So, any opportunity to kind of discuss it is good. We want to make sure we get the information out there as much as possible and answer any questions that come up.
Good, okay. Any questions or comments for Patrick?
I'd just say thanks. I like the write-ups. They were good, clear, and concise. I had a quick question on the floodplain.
Yep.
Have the proposed maps come out yet for
For the floodplain, so there are draft maps that are available.
Yeah.
And I can get that to the board if there's an interest in those.
any really big changes for Walpole? Any areas that are going to be hit hard by that, or?
I haven't really reviewed them extensively to comment on it. I mean, a few areas by and large look the same, but I wouldn't be able to comment fully on that, because I just haven't looked at them entirely in detail.
The reason I ask is the very first project I ever did when I got out of college was on an account with the National Flood Insurance Program.
Mm-hmm.
So we looked at maps all the time. So just, one of those things, I always look at the flood maps when they come out. So strange, I know.
Ben?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and echo what they've said, because I think it's important. Mr. Crowley and Mr. Forsberg and the whole committee really appreciative of the time, and of course, Patrick, that you've put into this and are going to continue putting into it. It's really important and I've watched some of your meetings as much as I can and as much as I can make it through. And it's tough stuff, right? But you all taking what is a really esoteric topic and being able to break it down in this way so that simple folks like us can understand it, and certainly RTMs can understand it and vote on it. It's so important. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So thanks again for being here tonight. Obviously, we'll have more conversations about this as we get closer to the town meeting in the spring. And appreciate, again, the good work that this committee is doing. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, and
Thank
if
you.
you have any questions in the meantime, just reach out.
Will do.
Thanks.
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 All right, thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to skip ahead to open forum. Is there anyone here who wants to talk at open forum? Being none, we'll move on to new business. We have a request from Wall Street Development for a reduction in the security bond held for the work that's being done on Brook Lane and Union Street. Carl, I know you're here. Give us a quick update on that.
Yes, good evening to the chair, members of the board, Jim and Aoife, Carl Baldoff, town engineer with the DPW. So I've delivered a memo to the board December 10th in response to Wall Street's request for a security reduction for off-site work in Brook Lane. Off-site work meaning the installation of a new water main in Brook Lane, as well as finished paving and some ramp work and things like that, plus some sidewalk work. The water work has been complete, and that's what Mr. Petrozzi and Wall Street have asked for to be reduced. I agree with their figure, and therefore I'm recommending that the security, which we have in the form of a bond, be reduced from $163,000 to $50,600. 632. Sorry about that. So I'd ask the board. So everything's done. It's in. It's tested. I would never be down here making a recommendation without the others, Rick, Scott, and the DPW are my own people, Phil McCall. Everybody's looked over this stuff. It's a joint effort. So I'm not down here in a vacuum, but things are good. I just drove it today to make sure the paving and trench patching and whatnot held up in the recent rains, and it's fine. If you happen to drive by, the gas company's down at the end tying in the gas main, but that's a separate permit, separate work. So we're satisfied with it, and we ask that you vote the reduction.
Great, thank you, Carl. Any questions or comments for Carl? Being none?
I'll make a motion to approve the request of Wall Street Development Corp. for a reduction in the security bond held for work in the right-of-way on Brook Lane / Union Street from $163,000 to $50,632.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. 3-0. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
We have a request to extend the hours on New Year's Eve for establishments for New Year's Eve celebration. Can I have a motion on that, please?
Motion to approve the extension of hours on New Year's Eve until 2 a.m. with the standard conditions as previous years.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. 3-0. On to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent items as listed on the December 17th agenda.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. 3-0.
Aye. Motion to approve the minutes of November 12th and 19th, 2024 as presented.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. 3-0. Jim, Town Administrator's update.
Sure, just a few items here. Finance Committee met last night with members of the Select Board and Rick Mattson, Chief Kelleher, and Chief Barry to review their current budgets, talk a little bit about their needs for the upcoming year. I think the meeting went pretty well, and they outlined clearly what they need and the needs of the department. So just thank you to everyone involved. Flags are at half-mast across the state. Ian Rogers reported that former Lieutenant Governor Francis Bellotti passed away today, so it'll go up until his interment. FY26 budget. I'm in the process of working my way through the budget for the various requests. I will have a balanced budget sometime in January. Once the budget's balanced, I expect we'll meet with school committee members and FinCom members to look everything over. I would like some input from board members before I go public with it and get your input as to some of the items outlined in that. And one last item is SM LaRusso. I just wanted to say a personal thank you to SM LaRusso Corp. and Tony and his whole family for donating over $47,000 in materials so we could close out the parking lot at the SM LaRusso Field Complex this past month. That really went a long way that was a great project. I'm really glad it got through before the winter set in, and I just can't say enough good things for what Tony and his family have done over the past few years for the town. So, thank you.
Yeah, that's well said, and I'm glad you did say that. And Tony, thank you for everything you've done for the town. And the 47,000 is wonderful, but there's been a lot more than that. And so many good things have happened in the town of Walpole because of Tony and his family's generosity. We really appreciate that. Last night's meeting, I thought, was a really good meeting with the fire department, police department, and DPW director. I thought the presentations were all very well put together, and the discussion was very robust and good, and a good way to get started, running start into the budget process. So really well done by everybody who was there.
Yes, it was.
Any other comments or questions for Jim?
Just one quick one. The paving at LaRusso, they have to come back in the spring to do the top? It's just the base?
No, that is,
They did get the final in?
Yeah, yeah. They actually gave us a warranty on that, which they generally don't do. Lynch, the contractor,
Yeah.
will have to stripe it in the spring, summer.
Right.
Anything else you can think of that we need to do
We
with this?
just need to back up the berms with loam and
Yeah.
do some finished seeding and striping
Yeah.
on those spots.
Just the finishes? Cool, thank you.
Mark?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 3-0. We are now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
So since I brought up